All right, Shalom. I want to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to you. How about Shemal Shabbat, Shemar Kakodash, double honor to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to all that I came out to pushing the word of sincerity and truth. It's the brother Barzal from Great Millstone, Atlanta, and I want to do this lesson on, you see the Latin phrase damnatio memori, and that's Latin for to destroy the memory of individuals. It was first recorded in ancient Egypt, which Lord willing, I'll do a lesson on that. I'm not going to be too, no, I'm not going to explain that too much in details of the first event that occurred, because like I said, I want to do a lesson on it. But it was in ancient Egypt where they would actually destroy individuals out of history, very important, prominent individuals, not your agricultural citizens, or your dishwashers, the tillers of the land and things of such. It would be notable individuals in history, your kings, your archbishops, princes, and you see an example of an emblem before you of the Severan family, as they call them. Severus Septimius would be the head of the household, and we all know um, those to be so-called black men, which are Israelites, and this it looks like a coin, some type of coinage, you know, the circular frame. I mean, it could have been in some type of portrait, but you can see it's very a very ancient piece. You can see without a shadow of a doubt Severus Septimius is a so-called black man. But you see on in the bottom left-hand corner, individual straight stripped out of the picture. Now, more than likely, this picture was possibly whitewashed also. But that's for another time. The point is damnatio memori, which they would actually destroy images. And whitewashing does branch along the lines of damnation of a memory, because they change the image of the portrait also. Instead of just totally eradicating it, they would change the appearance, the facial structure, the nose structure, amongst other things. They would call it defacing. But it says the Severan Tondo, a circa AD 199 Tondo of the Severan family with portraits of Septimius Severus, which of course was in the upper right-hand corner, Julia Domna, and their sons Caracalla and Geta. The face of one of Severus and Julia's son has been erased. It may be Geta's, as a result of the damnation of memory ordered by his brother Caracalla after Geta's death. So Caracalla, which I'll do a little bit more research of the spirit, but Caracalla erased his brother's face from history, and that occurred a number of times where a sibling would get in rulership. It might be a sibling rivalry. One wants the throne over the other, whether it's a younger or more likely maybe a younger brother, some type of envy between siblings, and it has some type of rivalry where they'll just make it seem like this individual never even existed in history to begin with, and I'm gonna continue on. It says damnation memory is a modern Latin phrase meaning condemnation of memory. I said destruction of memory, but to condemn is more so accurate. Condemnation of memory, that a person is to be excluded from official accounts. There are and have been many routes to damnatio, including the destruction of depictions, the removal of names from inscriptions and documents, and even large-scale rewritings of history. It was a form of dishonor that could be passed by the Roman Senate on traitors or others who brought discredit to the Roman state. Right. So if you were a traitor and you weren't established amongst the Roman state or the Roman Senate, then they would just take your face out of history. And they no records, no portraits, no type of relics of who you are would even remain in history, and that's demonic as all hell. It in the scriptures, we had common enemies, but we would record them in history. The Amalekites, the Egyptians, the Edomites, the whole house of the Edomites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, all these people that's in biblical enemies, whether of our own lineage, like King Saul, he was an Israelite himself. But he didn't walk uprightly in the ways of the Lord. But they didn't just execute the man's face or his image or who he is out of history like he never existed. He breathed on the earth. He was a living being that had to be recorded in the history as it is written. All things are written for our learning. But the so-called white man does not go by that law. He doesn't go by those principles, and he'll just take your face from the like it says, whether it's inscriptions, documents, and even large-scale rewritings of history. You know, and you have a lot of these guys from the Black conscious community and these Egyptologists that wonder what happened to Moses' body and all these different biblical figures. Well, when in Rome, that can be a point to stand. How they would actually take certain documents, and whether they were vaulted, because even Alexander created the library in Alexandria, Egypt, and they had certain paperwork, so to speak, certain rare documents and inscriptions that the public didn't have access to. You see? And it's still a ton of things that the so-called white man knows about the Bible to be true. Tangible writings, tangible articles and artifacts that they will never bring out to the general public, because they want to destroy who we are as a people. And for the fact that the so-called white man, brought us to America against our will and beat our nationality out of us, that shows that we have an important nationality. We are a people of an extreme importance for the so-called white man to go out his way to take our culture, take our artifacts, take who we are. In 70 A.D., when Titus, the son of Vespasian, invaded the temple, you can see it on of course, the Ark of Titus. You see the menorah. You see, all kind of goodly, pleasant treasures that came out of that temple. And they knew exactly what the Israelites looked like. And they pushed them out, and they weren't gonna put that in the Roman textbooks for others to read about the atrocious acts that the Roman Senate or the Roman figureheads, the Roman Empire itself actually did along those lines. They're gonna push greatness, the accomplishing feats that they have received, and you see that in today's time now in school. They don't tell you that you're an Israelite. They don't tell you that a lot of your history has been truly wiped away by the enemy, the so-called white man. They're gonna make you feel like you're a part of this system, and that everything the so-called white man was to help establish where we're at now. Whether you were at the front of the stick stabbing with the spear, you got the as the saying goes, the shit end of the stick at the bottom of the barrel. So it says in Latin the term damnation memori. This is under the etymology, which I really didn't read the part with Hatshepsut because I did want to go into it. Like I said, a lesson on that, anyways, of this individual Hatshepsut and Moses. Because they basically try to destroy Hatshepsut. For lack of I don't want to get into too many details, but destroy Hatshepsut out of history so that they could destroy Moses out of history. Because Hatshepsut, according to scholars, which this is through timeline, lineage, and artifacts, or I would say reading the biblical scriptures and linking it with a lot of historical points. They see that Hatshepsut was an important figure around the time of Moses, so they erased Hatshepsut so that she could never, be linked to Moses, so to speak. But I'll continue on. It says in Latin, the term damnatio memori was not used by the ancient Romans. The first appearance of the phrase is in dissertation written in Germany in 1689. The term is used in modern scholarship to cover a wide array of official and unofficial sanctions whereby the physical remnants of a deceased individual were destroyed to differing degrees. Yeah, so the so-called white man is the goddamn devil, like we say. This isn't just something that just occurred in Rome. It's all kind of empires that our people were in, and we were the so-called movers and shakers, man. We were the ones that brought greatness as we do in today's time. But do they truly value the so-called black and Latino men and women history, so to speak? Because we're a culture of men and women and children. Children become men. Do they value our history? No. They would rather wipe it out from text, and they would rather teach you about Greek history, teach you about the Romans, teach you about Spanish, teach you about the French, teach you about the Dutch, the English, teach you about the United States of America. All right, and then they dance around our history, and they make our history seem like it was flabbergasted, and that it was something of a figment of imagination. That's why anytime we learned about the Bible in school, it always seemed like a fairy tale book. It was really no artifacts. They never really went into historical points. They never really went into the depths of the scriptures. But this is the time where the Lord is, like the scripture says, I stir you up, stir up your minds through way of remembrance. Because the so-called white man has tried to condemn the memories um, of the sons of the righteous and erase who we are. But the Lord said He's going to give our memories back. Matter of fact, let me get that. Stir you. Like I said, the Lord is going to get. He's giving our memory back. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah. This is 2 Peter 1:13. Yea, I think it meet as long as I am in this tabernacle to stir you up by putting you in remembrance, knowing that shortly I must put off this by my tabernacle, even as our Lord Yahweh Shai have showed me. Yeah, so this is the time where our remembrance is coming back, because pursuant to Jeremiah 17:4, it said that we would lose our memory. Our memories would be yanked out of our grasp of who we are, our culture, our heritage, our lives on a whole. That's why Ezekiel was at the 37th chapter about the sinews and the body parts coming back upon that house, and that house being reestablished, which is the house of Israel. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land whither thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Right. And that prophecy definitely came to pass. That's why you Hispanics, you call yourselves proverbs and bywords. There's no such thing as a Mexican. There's no such thing as a Dominican. When you look up these different terms, they have no linking to a particular people. They're just made up terms, and most of them are Spanish words or English, origins that go back to items. Dominican just means Sunday, which of course Sunday is which is a day of the week. You have Santo Domingo, which I think that's a day of the sun. You have Mexican, which goes back to really in the Hebrew, is Mashiachim, which deals with the anointed of the Lord. Some of them do actually have carry certain positive vibrations, but for the most part, we know that the so-called white man took who we truly are, away from us. He didn't want us to go back to our nationality, go back to who we truly are. And I want to get that in Baruch. And like I said, and it goes for you blacks. Black is not a people. Black is a color. And either when you go furthermore into certain articles and certain books, they put the term black to represent poor, and white was to represent rich. I think that was in the Ottoman Empire. White people were known as the rich or the upper echelons, and the poor were known as to be black. Because really, during the Ottoman Empire, they took over Constantinople. They sacked Constantinople, and they changed it. That's why I think they changed it to Istanbul. That's why you have Istanbul, Turkey today. You know, and the Ottoman Empire came into rulership with nothing but Edomites that converted unto Islam. But this is Baruch 2 and 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. And who's in the land of their captivity? Who's the one that's keeping us captives against our will, and that's destroying our images? You know, here in these Confederate states south in the South, you know, I was watching this video. They was going into how, you know, even the school text of how they teach you is very, very, you know, racist, so to speak. And they're not just gonna put it in a racist format for you to catch on to. The literature is very, very, you know, forwarding or progressing the so-called white man's narrative, and it's to retrogress you and make you feel like you don't have a damn thing. You know, that's why you don't read about true champs in your history. You know, you read about Martin Luther King, which he pushed white supremacy, so to speak. You know, to be equal to the so-called white man in a kingdom that he already is ruling in. You know, that's still giving him the upper hand. You know, the scriptures speak about having nations under you, not being equal. All right, not trying to join on the shores of your enemy. You know, but it says, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them a heart and ears to hear. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from the wicked deeds, for they shall remember the ways of the Lord, which sinned before their fathers, which sinned before the Lord. You see? So we're coming back into our nationality of who our forefathers is, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not diminish. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people out of Israel out of the land that I have given them. Right, so we're in the times now. You know, this is the times where we're being awoken. Tells you that in I think Second Ezra, the 5th chapter. You know, it speaks about how truth is going to be shut up for a time and is going to be barren and desolate. You know, but this is the time where the truth is actually re-arising. So, you know, this is just something I wanted to go into, that article, you know, through the Spirit. Hopefully, brothers are edified. So I'm going to end by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shabbat, Shemar, Kakodash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom Akim.